So yeah, all right. It's great to be joined today by Gabriel Jude. He's like one of the people that I've looked up to on YouTube ads for a long time. He's really outspoken. He's got some great businesses, worked on some amazing brands. So yeah, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Simon. I appreciate it.
So I think the people that are watching today, it'd be brilliant if you could let us know a bit about your background, some of the brands you've worked on, some of the projects. I know it's a lot, but yeah, let us know what you've done.
Yeah, sure. I've been running my own business since I was 17 and a half years old, dropped out of high school. And as you've mentioned, I've started a couple of businesses that ultimately alluded to video marketing. So my first 6 businesses failed majestically. A lot of lessons learned from that. But if it was any sort of affirmation that I was supposed to be doing business, is the very fact that, one business failure after another, I didn't lose any sort of motivation or enthusiasm. And then sometime in August of 2008, I got into internet marketing. And the reason why I got into internet marketing was because I saw my mate traveling around the world with his missus, having complete freedom, making passive income. And I wanted to learn a little bit more about that. And then from there, he introduced me to the world of affiliate marketing. And, one of the basic lessons at that time that he told me, because I actually dabbled into internet marketing back in 2006, but I stopped it just because of how overwhelming it was. I mean, the sheer amount of content that is available out there and all of the different traffic sources and all of that you had to go through, that was why I decided to stop, right? So my mate basically told me, it was like, look, Gabe, all you really have to focus on if you want to have success online are essentially 2 things: traffic and conversions. And you don't have to master both of them. If you can master both of them, that's great. But if you can pick out one of the 2 to essentially master, then it's happy days for you. So from there, I decided to master traffic, just simply because traffic is more in the creative aspect. And one of my other good mates, his name is John Lai. He at that point of time was the guy that created a lot of videos that went viral. He's known as the guy who could get you from 0 to over 100,000 views in under 48 hours. And I reached out to him. We started talking about YouTube marketing. And to me, it was, YouTube had always been love at first sight. Just because of the fact that I am a creative person. I love all things visual. So when you look at the different traffic sources that you could tap into, such as SEO, for an example, SEO is really technical, and to a certain extent, it's unsexy. It's quite boring and quite mundane in that sense, Whereas with YouTube, right, it's all about creating the video. It's the creative aspect. There's so many moving parts into that. So I got into YouTube marketing back in 2008. Been doing it for the last 12 years now. From there, I actually started off as a freelancer. And then I transitioned in 2011 to start an agency in Australia called Easy Peasy Marketing. And then in 2013, we expanded that agency into Real Media. And then in 2015, after working with different brands such as Epson's, Heinz, Debt Cutter, which is the 3rd largest debt agreement company in Australia, Formula One Grand Prix, I decided, I think it's time to move away from the agency world and really start serving people who are wanting to tap into the power of YouTube marketing, because I don't believe that YouTube marketing is the future. It's already here. And the very fact that not a lot of brands and not a lot of businesses are tapping into YouTube marketing, due to the very fact that there isn't enough proper information and proper guidance out there in the marketplace, I just felt like it was my calling to be that person, right, that would provide the proper education and the proper guidance to the people in the marketplace.
Yeah, I know. Look, you've been doing this for it seems like forever on the internet, but
yes,
and I've come at it more from an SEO perspective. So my background is massively trying to rank videos for people, and the barrier to entry for me has always been getting people to make the video in the first place. So. Look, why, from your perspective, what do you think stopping, all the big brands jumping on it? Is it a lack of expertise at the, in actually getting the ads in front of the right people, or is it, I don't know. You tell me from your perspective what you think stopping people really jumping on it, because it seems like it's still the green shoots. It's still there's still a massive opportunity. It's like going back in time and being at the start of when Facebook started, and you've got it's still a green field, which is amazing to me.
Yeah. I think a lot of it has got to do with the lack of proper education, as well as proper support and guidance. Because at the end of the day, it's kind of it's the whole pay it forward concept, right? So I'm teaching, or I'm coaching, or I'm mentoring someone in the area of YouTube marketing, and then they become good. A perfect example would be a very good friend of mine, Scott Simpson. I think back in 2012 or 13, he reached out to me and he said, look, mate, I've got my own YouTube channel. It's a family vlog. Can I get some pointers from you? Can you coach me on and consult with me on how to actually blow this up? And we worked together. Fast forward to today, he's got over 120 million views on his YouTube channel, close to 400,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel now. Obviously, the business, his channel is making a decent amount in AdSense revenue. And what he's gone and done is he started his own video marketing company that helps people grow their YouTube channel organically. And some of his clients are like Russell Brunson, for an example, or Operation Railroad. So, I mean, that's the whole concept of paying forward, right? When we empower people with the necessary skills and knowledge for them to go forth and get that experience and get results for themselves, then they're going to say like, hey, I can do this for other people as well. So the current landscape to me is that there are far too few people, and this, Simon, because you've been doing this for a really long time yourself. You're one of the most transparent agencies that I've come in contact with, specifically in the UK. You know this for yourself on the very fact that there are a lot of agencies out there that are running in blind, helping a lot of big brands, helping companies with, whether it be their SEO campaigns or their YouTube ads or their Facebook ads, not having a single clue on how to go about getting results or achieving the KPIs, the objectives that the clients and the big brands want. So I would say that is one of the core reasons as to why a lot of big brands are not essentially getting online, especially onto YouTube as much. There are some. You've got Chevrolet, you've got Geico, for an example, you've got Grammarly, you've got Starbucks. But again, if you look at their targeting, the targeting is just all over the place, right?
A load of them. There's a whole bunch of them. You see them, and you can see it's the spray and pray approach. Obviously because they realize they can get some free exposure, they can get a level before people skip. Fair enough. Does that mean my targeting doesn't necessarily have to be as good as it could be? And that's the initial attraction where people sort of come on and yes, I can get some sort of result. And a lot of brands just look for eyeballs. They're looking to get in front of people. That's fine. But, I think what I've learned, doing a bit of work with you and some other top guys on YouTube campaigns, I think it can be so much better, can't it? It seems like there's between, I wrote what I think is one of the best Facebook ads manager courses out there, and now I openly speak about, Facebook being on its knees compared to what YouTube is. The targeting. Well, we're like-minded on this. The targeting. The targeting opportunity on YouTube can only get better and better and better as you let it learn. And I don't know whether you agree, but I find that a lot of agencies that step into it and think, right, we can do this. We've got really experienced PPC guys. We must be able to get it to convert. They're not necessarily using the ads in the right format, and they're not using the highly targeted, focused audiences to then drive the conversion. But that's for me. I think because they don't necessarily build in all of the conversions to tell Google that you've had success. That it's the age old, the PPC conundrum of you give your PPC to an agency, they get it running, and then they sit back and they make a few quid, and then they only query it when it goes wrong. I sat with somebody this week. And he actually said to me, well, this agency does my PPC. It's okay. I said, when did you speak to him last? He said, 4 or 5 months ago. Yeah. 4 or 5 months ago. What are you playing at? So I just, have you done much in the Facebook space, or have you always been YouTube?
So in our agency back in the day, if there was a client that would like to get involved in Facebook, whether it is Facebook ads or Facebook organic traffic in general, we would go to agencies like yours, actually.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, we'll go to agencies like yours and say, hey, we've got a client. We've got a client who would like to have a done-for-you Facebook ad service. Is there something that you could offer? And then after that, we'll just do our own markups. I personally, so for me, having been in the YouTube game for the last 12 years, I don't feel qualified to get a client on board to run their Facebook ads so that I can actually make some money.
But that is so refreshing to hear from my perspective, because I think there's a million agencies out there, from one guy in a bedroom through to the big guy going, yeah, we'll run your Facebook ads. And even then it's still the lazy approach of, we'll set it up in this way, and then they just sit back, take the fee, take the percentage of the ad spend. And there's no real insight, there's no proper reporting, no strategy, no planning going forwards, and then it's just off the cuff, a lot of reactive marketing, which just but the real thing that I've seen and opened my eyes up to on YouTube was the ability to scale, like unbelievably scale, that you can't do with Facebook. Like you press that spend more button on Facebook and you can pray, hope to, yes, you can get it to scale, but you can go from like making 20 grand a day to losing 20 grand a day, just because Facebook feels like it. But like tell me about some of the campaigns you've seen on YouTube in terms of in scale. Scalability is the thing, isn't it? Yeah. Because Google will tell you, won't it? Google will show you properly how you can scale it.
Yeah, but I want to share. I want to compliment. One of the earlier on we were talking about the lack of knowledge, right? A perfect example: lack of knowledge that equates to lack of targeting. Not really targeting the right people. So, in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I have come across, like, if I had $1 for every single time I've seen a Chevrolet car advertisement on YouTube, I don't have to be teaching. I don't have to actually, run a software company or, share with people how to do YouTube ads, just simply because I'd be somewhere in the beach, just laying down and, sipping my favorite Long Island tea, because it's just absolutely insane how many times I've seen that ad. And here's the interesting thing: I don't even have a driver's license.
That says it all, doesn't it? That's brilliant.
Let's not talk about the fact of whether or not I'm in the market for a car. And the reality is that with YouTube targeting, right, it's so amazing, because you can go down into like in-market segmentation, right? You can target people who are in the market for a car. Agencies can do that for their clients. But for me, like, I'm not in the market for a car. I don't even have a driver's license, and yet I've got Chevrolet
all over it. All day
in the last
long.
3 weeks.
And they're obviously not limiting the impression share either.
No, there's no frequency capping, impressions, none of that. So I'm like, for me, it's like, okay, I clicked and skip ad just so that I could save the advertiser a couple of but there's so many people out there where, especially when they're playing music videos, right? They would be away from the computer playing the music and letting those ads just run as is. And every time these ads are being run as is to the end of the video, advertisers are paying that amount of money. So think about the amount of the millions of pounds that advertisers and big brands are essentially paying for. It's just ridiculous.
And then they find that they haven't had the success that they expected. And then they lose faith necessarily. I think, and I think to some extent, this is why a lot of people haven't necessarily dived in and used it properly. They've used that approach that you've just described, no frequency capping, no necessarily targeting for a target cost per acquisition, You know, no tweaking of the campaigns, no refining the keywords, all this sort of stuff. And then they just think, it's not as good as we thought it was going to be, or it's not as good as Gabe and Simon said it was going to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
So tell me a little bit about the tool you're building and what it does.
Well, our tool is called Vidnetics, and Vidnetics essentially is a cloud-based platform for YouTube advertisers to find targeted videos that people could place their video ads on. Right. So this is where we talk about, you know, very, very targeted, highly relevant traffic that they can essentially get their ads on. So for an example, talking about the Chevrolet example, right?
Yeah.
If I am a car enthusiast, then generally what I would spend some of my time doing on YouTube is to look at, you know, how to customize my car, or, you know, look at the various car models that are available. If I'm in the market for a car, right, I'd look for various models that are available. Maybe I'm looking for an electric car. And from there, you know, all I have to really do using Vidnetics is just do a particular search that people who are in the market for a particular car or car enthusiasts would actually type in, right? Like how to customize my rims, done for you, and all that kind of stuff. So if a user were to type that in, it would actually pull up all of the videos that you can place your video ads on. And that is as targeted as you can get in terms of traffic.
Yeah, starting to say, right, this person, they live in a certain area, even if it was like a local dealership, you know, 50 miles around the dealership for that particular brand, for that placement, even, you know, in front of magazine channels, certain, you know, you might decide that that person is into golf or whatever, blah, blah, blah. You can just so much, place it exactly where you want it at the right time. Like, one of the things I talk about quite often is the film Minority Report with Tom Cruise, where he's walking through the airport and all of the ads are changing, you know, and they're all targeted to him. And, you know, we think that Google knows so much about us. You know, it is going to get to the point where it knows what you want before you know you want it.
Yeah, right? Pretty much. Yeah, Amazon's already there.
And that's a whole nother debate when we get to, you know, the privacy implications around all of that. But you know, I think the last question I'd like to ask you before we sort of close out would be, what do you think the future of search is? You know, is it because I know Google said that it wants the majority of the content to be video. And are you getting a feeling it's moving that way yet?
It's already there, Simon, as you know. I mean, I think one of the many things that I'm super grateful for, being involved in YouTube for the last 12 years, is that I've been able to see the evolution of YouTube. My hair is standing on end as I'm saying this, because I remember sometime in 2011, 2012, Google basically said, we want YouTube to become the next TV. And a lot of the changes that they had made from 2011 to 2012 all the way up to 2020 is reflecting that specific goal, that specific objective of them wanting to be the next TV. You know, you've got a couple of YouTube series, right? YouTube series coming out. They're supporting a lot of YouTube creators at the moment. So it's already here. As a matter of fact, I was looking at a data a couple of days ago, and it actually showed that 68% of people who buy something were essentially influenced by a video that they had watched on YouTube. And, you know, a good 90% of the US market have actually gotten exposed to a new brand or a new product from YouTube itself. It's so common today. And you know, for those of us who are actually watching this interview, you know, take a step back and observe, you know, like our family members, right? Our kids or our peers, our friends, our colleagues, you know, when they bought something, what would, you know, did they actually go to YouTube to do a little bit of research? Was there at some point in that whole customer journey, was there at some point where they essentially used YouTube to either gather information or to look at reviews before they decided to buy a specific product? So it's already here. And as Google tries to continues to get more information about us, it's just going to get a lot bigger from here on out.
It's just a case of getting stuck in and making more content. And I think the fact that everybody's got a phone now that is capable of making quality video. I think a lot of people need to get over themselves and get on camera. You know, I think there's a generation. Look, I'm lucky enough that I was there at the start of the internet. You're not old enough to have to be there for that, right? And I met Ryan Phillips from Interactor the other week, and he called me like the OG. He said, "You're like the OG of SEO."
Yeah,
I thought that was a massive compliment, right? But I think the problem is, right, for a lot of business owners, and this is a serious point, business owners that are in their 40s plus, they're not in the generation where they're going, it's that important, right? Yes, they might watch YouTube, but they're not looking behind them and seeing a new generation of entrepreneurs coming up behind them that ain't afraid to get on the camera. They're not afraid to say, this is the future. They're listening to people like you going, well, it's not that hard to make a video. Look, we're not making a Hollywood blockbuster. We're actually making a real honest truth to camera about our business. Yes, you can intersperse some bits of stock footage and some animation and all that sort of stuff, right? And then you can go and spend a whole boatload of money on animation because I get asked for it all day long, right? But yeah, it's not that hard, is it, to get a piece of video that converts into business?
Yeah, it has got nothing to do with the video, state of the art technology. You know, it's like I've ran my own personal campaigns as an affiliate marketer. All of it was either animated videos or using videos from the iPhone. That's, I in 2013, it was one of the talks that I did in Singapore. It was called How to Produce Highly Converting Videos without a blockbuster budget. And the whole concept, or the entire core of that particular talk, was all about, it's not about the state of the art technology that you're going to use. It's actually the message of the video that is the most important thing. If you want to convert your audience into buyers, it's not about using a DSLR, a $5,000, video camera with a Rode mic and all of that. It's not about that. It's about the message. You can shoot it from an iPhone, right? Yeah. But if your messaging is audience that you're wanting to speak to, it is going to convert to the specific objectives that you would like to achieve, whether it is to get more leads, whether it's to get more traffic, whether it is for you to go and get more sales. And the other thing as well is that, working with big companies in the past, we didn't have access to the CEOs, right, or the marketing directors. The people who end up doing these videos are actually the employees themselves. Yeah, the younger generation employees. So for someone who is in their 40s or their 50s, and they do have like maybe a team of 3 to 5, a small company with a team of 3 to 5 employees, they can get their employees to be in front of the camera to record it for them. Yeah, and then you've got platforms like Fiverr that you can hire video talents as well. So 10 years ago, if someone says, I don't have the budget to do a video, let alone think about running a YouTube ad, I can kind of understand, because back then when you look at your phone, it's 720p. Today on your new iPhone, you can shoot that on a 4K quality. Yeah. Today with globalization that has kicked in, platforms like Fiverr, where you can go on there and essentially hire video talents for quote unquote pennies on the dollar. It's there is no reason to not get involved in YouTube and use the excuse of, I don't feel comfortable in front of the camera. No, and I think that's a little bit hard hitting, but I mean, it's a fact. It's a myth, it's a myth to actually say, I need to be in front of the camera in order to do YouTube marketing or to be able to run YouTube ads. Yeah, and people that, okay, even if it's not the barrier to entry in terms of cost, I think the biggest thing and the message that I'd like to get across from this is you've got to do it. You have to do it now, because it converts better than anything else. And if you don't do it, your competitors are going to do it. And there's the amazing part is there's still a chance to grab an advantage, because
99% of companies aren't bothering. You know, even the big brands are struggling to do it properly. Yeah. So, you know, I hope I'm sat. You know, it's been a pleasure talking to you today, and it's really.
I do have one question that I wanted to ask you.
Go on.
You mentioned that it's almost come to a point, right, that a lot of people don't really have a choice but to get themselves involved with video marketing, to get themselves involved with YouTube. So you tap into a variety of traffic sources, from SEO to YouTube as well as to Facebook. So let's talk about Facebook, because every other company, every other business is actually running Facebook ads, right?
Yeah.
In your experience right now as an agency, how many of those people are who are doing Facebook ads are now jumping ship to YouTube?
Well, we've seen over the last couple of months, loads, you know, tons. I think I had a list sent to me of 600 big brands, and these are multinational brands that have jumped from Facebook. Whether they go back or not is another matter. I have personally been outreaching to a lot of those brands myself on LinkedIn, and getting messages back saying, yeah, you know, we feel that it isn't right for us anymore. And, you know, I think a great deal of that is the fact that Facebook doesn't control its content properly, you know, with the Black Lives Matter push, and the fact that, you know, there is hate speech on there, there's scams, you know, there's no real control over or moderation of what people are saying. And, you know, the beauty with Google is it stops that. You know, you can't do that. And you will get your ads pulled properly, and it is moderated properly by the people who are watching it. You know, whereas on Facebook, you'll find that you get a polarizing position where people actually jump on, and, you know, heaven forbid that Mr. Zuckerberg actually gets to watch this. But his problem, the real problem they've got, is where they let that take off. They let that hate go against each other, and they let it fight for the fact that it goes viral. And that's the problem. That is the problem. Right. Whereas, you know, obviously YouTube, you've got a like button, a dislike button. Yes, you can put some comments in, but pretty much if you put something out that's not right, it's going to get pulled. Right.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, you know, you've got, like, if you take Bill, you know, Microsoft, they're pushing a lot into answer engines where they expect it to go with Cortana, and Apple obviously use Siri a lot. And you've got, you know, Alexa is one of the bigger ones, you know, but I don't think we're going to get there with answer engines over the next few years. It's just you get too much of, I don't know the answer to that, or it's just so much quicker to search online. But the thing I talk to people a lot about are the questions, and you mentioned it, you know, emotional selling proposition, not USP, ESP. And when people are starting to talk about what is the emotional selling proposition of this product, how does my customer feel, not this is what we are selling, this is how it helps you, right? This is why it helps you as a person. You can only get that across on a video.
Yes.
Right? You cannot. Well, look, the old phrase, you know, a picture tells 1,000 words. How many millions of words does a video tell when you look someone in the eyes and tell them they believe you? And that for me, you can't do that on Facebook either. You know, you just can't do it. It's impossible. And the targeting's not as good. The audience. I was watching one of these FBI shows last night, and they were talking about profiling, right? A guy comes in as the profiler. Well, we believe it. We've already got them. There's not many of them, but people who can profile that audience down to the exact moment that they want to buy something, that audience creation piece is going to be so valuable over the next few years. And well, it is already, but you know, I think the chat that we've had today has been absolutely fantastic. I've really enjoyed it. I'll have you on again if that's all right.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
You know, and hopefully the people that are watching have enjoyed it. So cheers, Gabe. I appreciate it, and speak to you soon.
Yep. Thank you so much for having me, Simon. I appreciate you. Take care.
Cheers.